The case regarding Sergeant Elor Azaria shooting a Palestinian attacker after he was disarmed has the Jewish state divided. Even now, after the guilty verdict has been handed down, closure seems far away. Joining me in the studio today to break down the details are Brigadier General Meir Elran, co-director of the Society Security Personnel in the INSS, and Major General Yatom, former head of the Israeli Mossad. Thank you both so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
So let's begin. What are your thoughts about this guilty verdict?
Danny, you want to start?
Yes, well, I think that everybody that was a little bit in the details of the case, even though one should not see the entire picture, had to take into consideration that the verdict probably will be guilty. This is mainly because we saw some of the evidence, not only the video tape or tapes, there were few videotapes, but also what was said by many of the witnesses. And I think I myself, after serving so many years, including being the Commanding General of the Central Command, I was, let's say, convinced that innocent cannot be the verdict, and the verdict will be somehow guilty.
What is your take on this?
Well, I agree with Danny, of course, about that, but beyond that, I think that there are some broad questions to be asked. But before I get into that, I want to say one thing about the position of the military court in Israel. Because people have to understand that the military court in Israel is very similar in the sense of its credibility and professionalism and impartiality with the civilian court. So I think that it's very important to understand that we're talking here about a due course of trial handling, and I think that the judges have to be commended for their job, and this is very important for us to understand that we're talking about a professional, impartial court, which does not mean, of course, that this is the end of the story, because probably the defense is going to appeal.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, we almost are certain that the defense is going to appeal this.
Oh, yeah, they say that. Yeah.
But yes, but is this going to work? Is it going to be successful? What do we think will happen?
Well, firstly, in order to add a little bit to the first question, we have to understand that there is a military law, and he was put into trial according to the military law. It's not only a military court, but there is a military law, which is different from the civilian law. Secondly, I agree with Meir that this is not the end of the story. They will appeal, even though I don't see any good chances at all that such an appeal will be successful. But it will continue, and due to the fact that it will continue, the debate will continue. It will ignite the debate again and again. And I think that the publicity and the debate and the dispute between the Israeli society, mainly ignited by politicians, does not serve the interest of the state, does not serve the interest of the society, and do even bad to the soldier himself.
Now let's talk about that. The Israeli public has been very, very passionate about this case. What kind of results will this verdict have on the Israeli public's, trust in the military and of military law? And are we going to see less young people want to fight in combat positions as a result of what's taken place?
I think that really these are the major questions to be asked presently about the situation here. And I don't think that this is going to bring about a major change, but I think it's very important to understand that we're talking here about a very delicate, sensitive kind of a situation of the military managing security in the occupied territories. Because we have to understand that the military is positioned in a very, very unfortunate position. On one hand, they have to secure the country and the area from protracted terrorism. And this is their number one role, and they have to do anything to curb and curtail and even stop, if possible, terrorism. On the other hand, they have quite a significant Jewish population in the territories in the West Bank. And those people are not just regular, people, indifferent people, but some of them are people with very strong ideas, and they are very involved in what happened. This was, by the way, the case specifically in Hebron, where this particular episode took place. And hence the circumstances were very, very difficult, and the military will have to think very, very hard on how to best and most effectively manage those very sensitive situations in which there is high friction between the military and civilians, Palestinian civilians, and Jewish settlers. So this is really a major issue for the military to consider, to be very, very clear about, and to understand that it is not very easy to present to the soldiers, and I'm talking about the individual low-ranking soldiers, the private or sergeant level, what has to be done and how clearly they should act proficiently and effectively at the same time. And this is quite a challenge.
Now, when we talk about punishment, if this appeal does not go through for Azaria and he does in fact end up going to jail, is that the right type of punishment that we should be seeing for this young man? Or in your opinions, does he need some other type of help, rehabilitation of sorts?
Yes, he needs also rehabilitation, and he needs help. Maybe, I'm not a doctor, I'm not somebody that can offer something but my opinion and my professional opinion. But no doubt in my mind that the unit will help him, his friends will hug him. There is a procedure in the Israeli Defense Forces how to help those people, those soldiers. He is not going to be abandoned. He is not going to be thrown out the way some of his friends claimed. He was not abandoned by the Israeli Defense Forces. He breached the law. He breached the command. He did something unlawful. And this is what says the verdict, that it was unlawful. And he is convicted of manslaughtering, even though it is a terrorist. But we have, as an Israeli Defense Forces, to introduce the special norms and values that we are operating upon, including in tough cases, including in war. In war, you cannot kill anybody or everybody. There should be a good reason to kill somebody.
Thank you both so much for coming in today, and I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what happens with this appeal.
Let's do that. Thank you very much.